Welcome to the first episode of Voices, a show whose purpose is to give voice to parents, teachers, and students about topics of interest to the school community. I am your host, Marianne Brush, a member of the district communications team. The topic for today is the fifth grade middle school experience. When the school board and administration made the decision to move fifth graders to middle school as part of the reconfiguration, it was met with some resistance within the community. Now a year has passed and parents and teachers have had time to reflect. With me today are three guests to discuss that transition. Jessica Bryan and her family are relatively new to the district in Grosse Pointe, having moved here nearly 2 years ago from the Cleveland area. Jessica has current 5th and 7th grade daughters at Pierce Middle School and a current freshman son at Grosse Pointe South. Nick Simonette is a 5th grade teacher at ourselves, having made the move with his students from Monteith. He has 19 years of teaching experience, the last 4 in the district. After teaching 5th grade for 5 years early in his career, he became a behavioral interventionist. Nick came back into the classroom after moving to Grosse Pointe from Baltimore. He lives in Grosse Pointe Woods and has 2 children at Monteith, currently in pre-K and 1st grade. Finally, Katie Coyle is a 5th grade teacher at Brownell Middle School and the mother of twins, currently a freshman boy and girl at Grosse Pointe South and a 5th grade son. Let's talk first about how you initially felt about the change. Let's begin with Nick as a teacher, and then we can hear next from Jessica as a parent, and then hopefully Katie can tie the two in together as both a parent and a teacher. Nick?
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation. Initially speaking, I was excited because it was an opportunity for growth, and we know that change is inevitable, and it was a move to try to strengthen our budget here and strengthen our ties with 5th grade and middle school. And I saw the apprehension, and I get that piece. But it was really a great opportunity for us to really meld some relationships and give students an opportunity to grow and have access to greater curriculum, and to create some relationships at the next level.
Okay. Jessica, let's hear from you.
Again, thank you for having me as well. I come with a little bit of an open slate perspective, being new to the district and being not having children, having gone through the similar structure in our previous district. So for me, I didn't have the apprehension that so many had of leaving. For example, my daughter was a 4th grader at Mare, and the Mare departure really weighed heavily on so many of my contemporaries that I had met and the children when they chatted. And to me, I think that was just because it was different and it was unknown. And again, I didn't come with animosity towards the change. I came with sort of an open slate of this is where we're going. And as a parent, I was lucky enough to be able to then have 2 children in the same location. So as any parent knows, that actually is a positive when you can streamline down your comings and goings. And furthermore, my daughter was excited because there was going to be more opportunities for her. And she kind of had that time frame sort of king of the playground to the best that she knew being in the 4th grade, and was excited for the next adventure. Unfortunately, the pandemic threw us all into a little bit of a halt, and things are a little bit different than they would have been. But whether it's staying afloat or thriving, it's been a great year to date for what we could have expected.
Great. All right, well, let's bring it around to a teacher and a parent perspective from Katie.
Well, at the time, I was just a parent because I was hired into my teaching position in November. But I had a positive reaction from the start, mainly because I knew Brownell really well. Having 2 8th graders at Brownell, I knew it was a really warm and caring environment. I knew the staff pretty well. And I just knew that it was going to be okay. And I also knew that I felt when Sean and Carolyn were in fifth grade, at the time they were ready for a little bit more. And I feel like they were ready to move on. And Christopher got that this year. He had a little bit more opportunities for extracurricular activities. He had more instrumental. And I knew that was coming, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, obviously with COVID, as Jessica said, there were more challenges or unanticipated obstacles, but in spite of, regardless of that, what are some of the experiences that from your vantage point, fifth graders experienced? Maybe start with you, Jessica, this time. That they wouldn't otherwise in the elementary school setting.
Again, kind of coming in without a ton of expectations. I thought what was really wonderful that was instrumental, as Katie had mentioned, my daughter was able to take up violin and have even virtually a very robust opportunity to really bond with a teacher that she may not have had, one who actually even arrived at her door to tune violin. My daughter was looking forward to participating in some of the other options, potentially in the swim team / club, or in the theater programs, all of things that wouldn't necessarily have been an option for another year, but she was able to kind of dabble her foot in appropriately. Having Spanish for a longer period of time, access even to things like the library that has books that were a little bit more towards her level of reading and comprehension and understanding. So I think those are all positive wonderfuls. I'm sure there would be many, many more. I think the school pivoted as fast as they could in an appropriate fashion for the children of this age. I think there was no malintent. Everyone was trying to find warmth and absorption and kindness and compassion to a new group of kiddos and figure out how to get them ready for it. And I think next year's the fifth graders will have a remarkable experience that unfortunately the global pandemic took from our fifth graders, but here we are in June, and they're going to go on and be amazing sixth graders, I'm sure.
So in the beginning, some of the concerns were passing or interaction with the older students, some of the challenges that did you observe any of that? Or Nick, you talked about recess, where some of the fifth graders might want to have some of the things that they might have missed from elementary school. You want to talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I was excited about going here, because I knew I would be able to support them, especially my students who just left me. And this being my fourth year, I was the students at the middle school who are in the eighth grade were my first class. So I was able to kind of get back up here and really circle back to them and support them in a real way. Things did look very different. The playground looks very different. There kind of is no playground, so it's a huge field, but it's plenty of space. But a lot of students were kind of looking for the 4 square space, blacktop, the basketball court, or a couple of basketball goals. One of the things we used to do at Monteith was we used to play some basketball games, and I would do a little dunk, or we played some basketball, and we would kind of really get together and have fun in that way. But that wasn't really there for them in that same way. And then you throw the pandemic on top of it, where we had to make sure that we were adhering to CDC rules and regulations. So it really pushed everyone apart to a degree and kind of had us a bit in isolation, even in a setting where, as in recess, we usually come together. So there were some challenges there in terms of what to do, what's appropriate, what's not having as much there. Also, like little classroom activities, right, where we usually get together and combine and have great discussion work around certain topics that we had to maintain spacing. And so some of those opportunities were lost because of that. But we did the best that we could, and we maintained some grace and patience through through it all.
Hopefully those will be back, next year, some of those opportunities. So Katie, did you want to talk about the isolation piece from this experience as a teacher, like being a new teacher? I think.
So, well, although COVID had so many challenges, there was the one thing that came out of it that was actually helpful is that the fifth graders were able to start school at Brownell by themselves, and they had time. It was just the fifth graders in the building, so they had time to adjust and just kind of had the full attention of all the staff, and that part of it was good. But in terms of isolation from a teacher standpoint, that's been the hardest thing for, I'd say, the fifth grade teachers, because we didn't really get that chance to bond with the rest of the staff. And I knew like many of the teachers from my twins, so I knew them a little better than some of the other fifth grade teachers, but that's the one thing we talk about, is that we can't wait for next year where we can do some just some activities together and we can get to know each other, because that was like the hardest piece. Like we couldn't even eat lunch together this year, so we really just didn't get to know each other.
Okay, so well, that kind of brings to my final question, which is what you would like your principal and the teachers to know that would make next year even better. And I think a lot of this is just going back to a normal school year, right? And getting to build community and have that. But if there's anything else that, this is an opportunity to see, if having had a year, what might make things even better, make this transition more smooth for the fifth graders.
Well, I think having a fifth grader that's still going to be around, and I now have a rising seventh grader that was chosen to be a web leader for incoming fifth graders this coming year, which is super exciting. She's very much looking forward to it, being new to the community in some ways, and then being able to actually say, hey, I made this transition and I was successful. But where I come from is that I think talking to the kids and having the principals, as much as they can have some open forums in the staff and say, hey, I know this was a really hard year, but it wasn't necessarily a hard year because you came as fifth graders, which was new for our district. It was a hard year because we lived through a global pandemic. So let's pretend we can take that hat to the side just for a moment. What would be ways to think about for the new fifth graders? What are things that maybe we didn't think about? You didn't know which way the stairways went, or you didn't know, some rules or protocols. Most likely it's going to be something silly and small that will be very easy to help the new class transition. And so I say, involve them as much as possible in those discussions and look forward to next year's fifth graders coming. And then I hope that you have a panel a year from now and they have parents and teachers that say, we've come through a new fresh start with fifth graders in our middle school, and it was highly successful, and this is why.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Anyone else like to add to that before we close?
We're just looking forward also next year. We're bringing back advisory and then having all school meetings. Like we didn't do that this year. So we're looking forward to not just mixing the teachers, but mixing the students a little, just more of a to unify everybody, which is going to be great. But overall, I think the fifth graders had a really great year being in the middle school building. The feedback that I seem to get from parents is all positive. I think despite the pandemic and all of the craziness that went on with COVID, the kids just seem happy here. So that makes all of us happy.
Yes. Nick, you want to add to that?
Absolutely. I think, this year really taught us that, first and foremost, teachers should not be taken for granted, right? And parents really rallied around us this year and just gave us so much, unsolicited support. It was just amazing. But then there's an opportunity for us to continue to engage with policy sections like, community health, community development, and just really take a look at how families are doing. Because one thing that did get exposed in this pandemic is, how are families doing? how are they getting here? How are they getting their children here? What sacrifices they had to make, and to get here. And so I think one of those things that I think will continue to grow from here is bringing in more opportunities for talks and for discussions, and more clubs, and more avenues and platforms for students to voice their opinion and talk about obstacles, talk about things that are important for them. So I think just more opportunities for discussion work and thought work in this area.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your voices today. Your voices are important to us. And for those watching, let us know if there are any topics you would like us to cover in the future, because we're listening. So feel free to contact us at info@gpschools.org. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christopher Coyle, and my favorite thing about Brownell is all the friends I've made.
Hi, I'm Emmy Brown, and my favorite thing about Brownell Middle School is how big it is.
I am Everett Wood. I'm a 5th grader at Pierce Middle School, and my favorite thing about it is the spectacular teachers.
Hi, I'm Addison Brownsberger, a 5th grader at Pierce Middle School, and my favorite thing about Pierce was the 5th grade hall was all together, and I got to see all my friends and teachers.
Hi, my name is Jordan Deering. I'm a 5th grader at Pierce Middle School, and the thing that I like most about Pierce and being a 5th grader is that I get, a lot of stuff is bigger than at my elementary school, and I also like that I had a playground at my old elementary school, but I like it better now because I have more room on the field instead of having most of a playground. And I like it because we have outdoor lunch and I get to see a lot more people than I did last year. We used to be just bunched up at the table.
My name is Drew Holly, and I go to Parcells Middle School. What I like best about being in 5th grade is that I get to do extracurricular activities like instrumental and band. I also like being here so that I can adjust my schedule more easily for next year. I love being at Parcells Middle School.
Hi, I'm Ava Janice, and I go to Parcells Middle School. What I like most about being a 5th grader is I can practice my schedule for next year.
Hi, I'm Gabe Mahoney, a 5th grader at Parcells Middle School, and what I like best about the 5th grade experience is that you get to experience all the things the 6th graders do without actually being a 6th grader.
Hi, my name